I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. You know, it's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Dave Flynn?
On the radio.
Hold on to your butts.
Hey there, welcome to Dave Flynn on the radio, the #1 blogcast on the internet. I'm Dave Flynn, and since reading is hard, I'm going to do it for you. Tom Petty needs no introduction, but I'm going to do one anyways. Born in Gainesville, Florida in 1950, Petty came to prominence in the late 1970s as lead singer and songwriter for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. By the 1990s, he was an institution. To kids my age, that meant classic rock, even though he was still right there on MTV, between Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots. The Heartbreakers somehow felt old and current simultaneously. But Petty wasn't a legacy act hanging around the edges. Mary Jane's Last Dance won Best Male Video at the 1994 VMAs. That's a Video Music Award. Then, at 44 years old, younger than I am right now, he released Wildflowers. And hot damn, Wildflowers didn't sound like Black Hole Sun or Basket Case. It was unmistakably Tom Petty, and the album arrived right on time, stripped down and reflective as the culture was rediscovering acoustic music through MTV Unplugged. A few years back, on a backpacking trip with some buddies, I put on some of Petty's solo stuff. Highway Companion, I believe. One of them said, I don't know, not sure about the solo stuff. I said, dude, it can't just be free falling again and again. He can't. We all had a good laugh, but isn't that how we all feel? We want our heroes locked in amber, doing the thing we first loved. The more I learned, the more relatable he became. The kid who didn't know what publishing was. The bandleader who had to leave Gainesville, but could never escape it. The guy who fought his record label twice in 3 years because he didn't want them taking his cut or his fans. The older I got, the more the songs and message seemed to resonate. When I was working up the nerve to leave my job a few years back, this was the song I had on loop.
It's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead, I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, grass is growing. It's time to move on. Time to get going.
This one's part of a series I call What I've Learned From, where I share stories, quotes, and lessons from a single source. I've done Jimmy Iovine, who, small world, actually turns up in today's episode, Seth Godin, Warren and Charlie, and I've got a bunch more on the way. Same idea every time. Find somebody worth learning from and take everything that's not nailed down. You can find an idea every Monday over at winwithflynn.com, but if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump into the show. What I've learned from Tom Petty. Knowing where you're going. I was really lucky because I knew what I wanted to do very early in life. I didn't ever question it. I didn't have any choice. I just did it. And if I'd really known how little I knew about what I was doing, I might have been discouraged, but I wasn't. I was happy to do it. And you know, if you're lucky enough to do that, you're pretty lucky. I feel very fortunate because it all worked out. Tom Petty, Somewhere You Feel Free. Petty says he was lucky he knew what he wanted to do, but also lucky he didn't know how little he knew. Two kinds of luck. The first gave him a direction. The second kept him from getting discouraged before he found the road. I've written about this before. Interest creates focus, creates mastery, creates genius. But the interest has to come first. When I was a kid, I would have loved to have been a rock and roll star. I just didn't understand how you got to be one. How did you suddenly have a suit and an orchestra? But the minute I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and it's true for thousands of us, there was a way to do it. Tom Petty in Petty, the biography by Warren Zanes. Like so many, Petty was changed by the Beatles' first performance on Ed Sullivan. 4 kids with the same instruments he could buy. It wasn't a map, but it was a direction. That's enough. You don't need the whole route. You need to know which way is forward, and you need to be naive enough not to count the miles. Do something you really like, and hopefully it pays the rent. As far as I'm concerned, that's success. Tom Petty. What are you doing? At Tulane University, Benmont Tench was an art major because, in his words, all rock musicians went to art school. He would play with Mudcrunch when he could, but that wasn't often. He was finishing his first year there when Petty called him at 2 a.m. after a gig in Naples, Florida. I was cramming for an economics final, Benmont explains. The phone rings and it's Tom. He says, "We just played at such and such." I'm like, "Cool." Then he says, "What are you doing?" And I say, "I'm cramming for an economics final." He says, "No, what are you doing?" And I go, "You're right." I went home after that and played with them all summer. Not what are you doing right now? What are you doing with your life? What's the big thing you're working toward? An economics final? An art major? Compared to a working band? Tom was a master recruiter, and his pitch wasn't a pitch, it was a question. Most of us are answering the small version of what are you doing? The meeting, the inbox, the project plan, the next thing on the calendar. Tom's question forces the big one. The reason you got out of bed in the first place. Benmont went home and played with the band all summer, and he never went back to Tulane. The backing band. He gave us a kind of courage that we never had, to learn something quickly and go out on stage and play it. You had to be pretty versatile because arrangements could change, keys might change. You really learned the value of spontaneity. Tom Petty on touring with Bob Dylan. By 1986, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were stars. A decade of hits and arena tours. So obviously, the next logical step was to go on tour with Bob Dylan as his backing band. Arena headliners don't usually volunteer to become the supporting cast, but Dylan's shows demanded something the Heartbreakers' own shows never did. Arrangements fluctuated nightly. Songs bent and stretched, tempos moved, keys changed, and there was no way to know what he'd do next. The band couldn't drive, they had to follow, and it made them better. Drummer Stan Lynch called it the high point of my drumming, and added that it never got better than that. But how does taking a backseat to Dylan make you better? Because there was no net. Keyboardist Benmont Tench remembered Dylan dragging him into songs cold. We'd just do Justine. I didn't know Justine. I didn't know those songs.
Justine. 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 Running in the pocket, and I've been bleeding. Hold on to baby, a man sweet Justine. Justine. You're my baby, you're my dear. You're my baby, you're the answer to my prayer, Justine.
You learn fast when the alternative is falling on your face in front of 20,000 people. And you learn to listen, really listen, because the only way to follow a man who won't tell you the key is to hear it coming. You can hear the payoff years later on the live recordings, my favorite of which is Live at the Fillmore, 1997. The Heartbreakers move effortlessly between their own songs, campfire songs, blues, the Byrds, garage rock, country, anything. They don't sound like a band playing a set list. They sound like musicians. But that same tour, the one that forged a better version of the Heartbreakers, nearly broke Dylan. He'd look out at the crowd and think they were there for Petty, not him. Tom was at the top of his game, and I was at the bottom of mine, he wrote in Chronicles. I'd fallen into this amnesia spell. I didn't feel I knew who I was on stage. If you're always the leader, always the smartest one in the room, always the name on the marquee, you stop getting stretched. And sometimes the fastest way to become a better lead is to spend some time as the band. The band or the music? Before Mudcrunch, before the Heartbreakers, Tom was a Gainesville teenager playing bass in a cover band called the Epics. Ricky and Rodney Rucker on guitars, Dickie Underwood on drums. Years later, Ricky described what the band was really about. We always thought, this is the ultimate party. It was all about meeting girls and going crazy, doing crazy things. Not jail-type things, but crazy. Tommy was all for having fun, but he had a whole thing about the music. He really wanted to play music. The Ruckers and Underwood approved of that focus as long as the music didn't get in the way of being in a band. For the Ruckers and Underwood, the band was the point, the party, the girls, the poster on the wall. The music was just the price of admission. For Tom, the music was the point. The band was the price he paid to make it. Same van, same gigs, same blue shirt. Totally different reasons for being there. I've written before about missionaries and mercenaries, but the thing I keep coming back to is that it's not really a personality type. Missionaries aren't a different kind of person, not necessarily. They're people who happen to find the thing they couldn't stop thinking about, and were lucky enough, brave enough, and skilled enough to chase it. The Ruckers and Underwood weren't bad guys, they just hadn't found their mission. Tom had found his. Tom didn't try to convert his friends. He went and found people the music had already grabbed. Ben Montinch quitting Tulane just before his economics final. Mike Campbell signing on immediately, for life. Later, working with Iovine, flying across the country to produce them, demanding 3 more songs every time they thought they were done. The band gets in the way of the music until you find the right band. Then they're the only reason the music exists. The best songs just fall out. Songwriting is the most fun I have. When you finish one, there's no better feeling. Sometimes it's really hard to write a song. The best ones, they're not always, but usually the best ones are the ones that seem to come kind of quick, and they just fall out. Tom Petty, Somewhere You Feel Free. The most famous example is Wildflowers. Petty turned on a tape recorder, picked up a guitar, and sang the whole thing, start to finish, lyrics and all. Never wrote a word down.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong on a boat out at sea. Sail away, kill off the hours. You belong somewhere you feel free.
Paul Graham said the same thing about good work. Some of the very best work will seem like it took comparatively little effort because it was, in a sense, already there. It didn't have to be built, just seen. It's a very good sign when it's hard to say whether you're creating something or discovering it. Paul Graham, How to Do Great Work. The work wasn't built, it was excavated. Petty's bandmate, Ben Montinch, describes what that feels like from inside the song. If you have a song like Crawling Back to You, the music has a mood. Music has an absolute mood. And so you dial in. I remember my hands on the piano. Seeing my hands on the piano, I don't really have a recollection of playing the actual take. And that's a good sign. If you black out stone cold sober during a take, then you're inside the music. Benmont Tench, Somewhere You Feel Free. You can see this happen on film. There's footage of Paul McCartney during the Let It Be sessions, waiting on John to show up, doodling on a bass. Inside of 4 minutes, he scats and mumbles his way into Get Back. Chord progression, chorus, half the lyrics. George and Ringo are sitting right there, looking unimpressed at first, just waiting it out. Then George quietly says, "It's great, musically," and starts playing along. Ringo starts clapping. They heard it before Paul did. The most liked YouTube comment on the clip says it best. Paul just casually shitting out a gold song at 10 in the morning. The song doesn't get written in the studio, though. The studio is just where it gets captured. Turn off the radio. Tom is a great and loyal friend, but he's also honest like that. In 1994, I had just gotten out of rehab, and Tom and I had dinner. I wanted to make a new record, but I was scared. I said to him, "Will you help me write a song or two?" I didn't really expect the reaction I got, which was, "No, I won't. You are one of the premier songwriters in this business. Go home and turn off the radio. Don't be influenced by anything. Just write some great songs. That's what you do." Stevie Nicks, Rolling Stone 100 Greatest Artists. We have two modes, and they don't run at the same time. There's consumption mode, radio on, scrolling, reading, listening, soaking it all in. And then there's creation mode, radio off, hands on the keys, eyes on the page. You need both, but you can't run them concurrently. If you're stuck in consumption mode, every song you write will sound like the song that just played. Every blog post will sound like the newsletter you just read that morning. You'll be a remix instead of an original. Inspiration is upstream of creation, not parallel to it. You can fill the well or you can draw from it. Tom told Stevie, "Go home. Turn off the radio. Get to work." Play them again. We went to the dance really nervous, but we all got blue shirts and we started to play. We were a huge success. Everybody dug it. We played our 3 songs, and then everybody yelled for more. So we played them again. Tom Petty on the Sundowners' first gig. In Confessions of an Advertising Man, David Ogilvy said, "You aren't advertising to a standing army. You are advertising to a moving parade. The audience isn't sitting in formation watching you, waiting for your next move. They're walking past. New people show up every day. The ones who saw last year's ad got married, moved, forgot. A fresh batch is right behind them." Most of us forget this. We assume everyone has read every post, heard every song. So we kill our winners chasing novelty for an audience that didn't need novelty in the first place. The Heartbreakers played American Girl every damn night for 40 years. It's okay to play the hits. Play what you've got. Let the people who like it dance.
Well, she was an American girl, raised on promises. She couldn't help thinking that
Singing to Yourself. Wildflowers is the divorce album. That's me getting ready to leave. I don't even know how conscious I was of it when I was writing it. I don't go into this stuff with elaborate plans, but I'm positive that's what Wildflowers is. It just took me getting up the guts to leave this huge empire that we had built, to walk out. But staying there was finishing me off. I'd become a different person. Tom Petty. Petty, the biography by Warren Zanes. There's a story in the Zanes biography that knocked the wind out of me. Petty had played his therapist the Wildflowers demo, the title track of the album he'd written while quietly preparing to leave both his marriage and, in some ways, the Heartbreakers. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong somewhere you feel free. The therapist asked who Petty was addressing. I told him I wasn't sure, and then he said, I know. That song's about you. That's you singing to yourself what you needed to hear. It kind of knocked me back, but I realized he was right. It was me singing to me. Most of us are singing songs to ourselves. We do it all the time, without knowing it, through our work, our parenting, the advice we give our friends, the blog posts we write about other people. Really, on closer read, they're about us. We dress it up as observation, as opinion, as helping. But the person who needs to hear it most is the one doing the singing. Author Terry Pratchett said, the first draft is just you telling yourself the story. I've caught myself doing this more than once. The post I thought was about someone else turned out to be about me. I just don't see it, not always, until rereading the piece, sometimes months or years later. Which is why I try not to give advice. Instead, I describe what I'm doing or what I'd do and let people take it or leave it. If you want to follow someone's advice, make sure they've followed it first. You're looking for a practitioner with a notebook, not a guru with advice from on high. The skill, the real skill, is listening to your own song, even if it's hard to hear. Own your art. If we don't come on like a bunch of greedy people, maybe they'll realize that there's more to this than just the money. It's a very dangerous thing to start charging the public more for a record just because it's a hit record. It's like charging more for a loaf of bread because it tastes better. Tom Petty, The New York Times, 1981. Now, I for one believe that delicious bread should cost more than some tasteless, chewless, mass-produced garbage. But the point is well taken. Who decides? At the time, it was about popularity, record sales. The label was telling customers, hey, you bought so many of the last album, we're going to do you a solid and charge you more for this one, before ever knowing if it's any good. Early on, Tom Petty signed away his publishing rights for $10,000. He said, I swear to God, I thought that publishing meant putting my song in a songbook. I had no idea it meant owning the copyright and that I would never see a dime for it. Then his label was sold to MCA, and his contract went with the deal. Bought and sold like a piece of meat, he said. So he fought. Paid for the next album out of pocket, refused to release it. He filed for bankruptcy to break the contract. While he was recording Damn the Torpedoes with Jimmy Iovine, U.S. Marshals were trying to seize the tapes mid-session. Petty had his guitar tech, Bugs, take the tapes home each night and deliberately didn't ask where they went. So when MCA's lawyers put him on the stand and asked, where are the tapes? He could honestly say he didn't know. To pay the legal bills, the band went on the road. They called it the Lawsuit Tour. Sold shirts that read, Why, MCA? Across the front. The tour ended with 2 sold-out nights at the Universal Amphitheater, owned by MCA. He took that money, the label's money, to fund the fight against them. Finally, MCA blinked. But 2 years later, MCA was up to their old tricks. They tried to charge fans an extra $1 for Hard Promises, $9.98 instead of $8.98. A new superstar pricing tier. Petty fought them again. If we don't take a stand, one of these days, records are going to be $20. A decade later, as CDs took their place, he'd prove prophetic. Hugh Howey, one of my favorite authors, he ran a similar play 40 years later in publishing. Self-published Wool on Kindle for 99 cents. He built up a readership, and when the big houses came calling, he refused to sell them his digital rights. He took a print-only deal so the ebook could stay cheap enough for readers to take a chance on it. Different industry, but the same fight. Own your art. Keep it accessible. The middleman will always try to charge more and pay you less. And the only leverage you have is the work itself and your willingness to walk away from a bad deal to protect it. I've learned that the music industry is a very small, very tight-knit community of people who don't like each other very much. Tom Petty. Promotion as punishment. It's like Tom Waits said, I'm an artist, but I'm still in show business. At this point, though, the show business part is what I'm trying to keep to a minimum. With all the social media and internet outlets promoting a record these days is almost like being punished for making it. Tom Petty. Petty hated this part, the interviews, the appearances. He'd reached his breaking point during the Wildflowers press tour, during interviews from morning through dinner for 4 straight days until he finally drew a line. He said, either you show me that this has really got some huge return to it, or I'm not going to do it, because you're using me to throw darts at the wall in hopes that something sticks. He wanted to believe the work would speak for itself. He said, things happen with good records. Maybe not right when they come out, maybe not for millions of listeners, but good records seem to get to the people who need them most. I guess I have to believe that the best marketing tool is still a good song. Author Morgan Housel said, if a book is good, you don't need to market it. If a book is bad, no amount of marketing will help. This is the lesson I'm still working on. I like the writing. People who read it seem to like it too. But it doesn't grow or spread the way I imagined it would, and my instinct is the same one Petty had. It's to retreat to the studio, write a better song, trust that good work will find its audience. But if you really believe in a piece of work, maybe you need to stand up for it. When Hypnotic Eye came out, Petty's first instinct was to skip the tour, do the bare minimum, and get back to recording with Mudcrunch. He decided against it. He said, the thought that fewer people would hear Hypnotic Eye if I didn't tour behind it made me reach for my luggage. He believed in the record, so he packed his bags. Even when you'd rather just make the thing and release it to the world won't trust the work if you won't stand behind it. Zanes writes, Petty wonders some days how long he'll have to keep doing this. On others, he worries that he'll have to stop.
So meet me tonight at the Red River where the water is clear and cold. Meet me tonight at the Red River and look down into your soul. Look down into your soul.
I don't like the ending, but I love the book. Tom Petty. That's how he put it. Looking back, the end of the band, the marriage, the book. All biographies end the same way, eventually. It's how many of us feel about losing Tom. October 2017. Too soon. He shouldn't have been on the road. He was in pain. He played anyway, supporting the music, entertaining fans. There's so much to love. The Traveling Wilburys. I Won't Back Down played at every Florida Gators home game. 20 straight nights at the Fillmore in 1997. The 2008 Super Bowl halftime show. The Mudcrunch reunion in 2007, going back to his first band at 57 to make a record. And yes, even Free Fallin'. Gainesville's #1 son. I don't like the ending, but I love that book. There we have it. That's the pod. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Give it a thumbs up. And if you've got a few extra seconds, give it a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you are listening. The engagement will make you feel so good, and it'll help other people find the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there you go, America. I love you. I'm proud of you. I mean it.
We gotta go.
We gotta go. This is great.
We should probably, we either do two things. We either leave the great, he's even a Hall of Fame member. We should leave him alone, or we should really just go at it. All right, let's, so what we'll say, on the count of 3, we'll say, hello, Tom, come downtown. All right? We'll try, we'll practice, and then we'll really do it, all right? So, hello, Tom, come downtown. 1, 2, 3. Hello, Tom, come downtown. Dedicate this to a Miss Cindy Sheehan. Well, I walk back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand my case in the gates of hell, but stand my ground, and I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. I won't be turned around. In a sleep, this world keeps dragging me down. I won't back down. No, I won't back down. Hey, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. My son had just one life. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I stand my ground. No, I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. Here goes Santa. Hey, there ain't no easy way out. I stand my